Hello and welcome to the tutorial for Final Cut and for creating packages for PSN News. I'm Ariel.
And I'm Christine. And before you start, here's some things that you should have. You should have with you a flash drive, which is more than 2 gigs so you have enough space, your video camera, a tape and headphones, and your microphone for when you do your voiceover, and a pencil and paper if you want to write down your voiceover. So the first thing you do is you need to capture your footage. So you're going to insert your DV tape into the player right below the monitor, and you want to make sure that this cable is in front. Is it plugged in the front of the player? If it's not, it won't work. If it's not there, move to a different computer or find the cable and plug it in. Make sure that the setting is on F1, which is set to front, so it comes in through that cable that I just showed you. And so you're going to insert your tape and press play to make sure it's playing. Rewind your tape all the way to the beginning. And now you're ready to start editing your project.
The first thing you're going to do is you're going to open Final Cut Express. You go to the Finder, and then you go to Applications. Then you're going to scroll down until you see Final Cut Express, and then double click. So this is a screen you're going to see when it first opens up. In case you don't see this screen right here, just right click and make sure View as List is checked, and that's how you're going to see this. It is definitely the most convenient way to organize all your clips. So the first thing you should do is to save it. Doesn't really matter what you save it as. PSN project, that's fine. So now you're going to want to take your footage off of the tape and you're going to put it onto the computer. So the way to do that is you go into File, you go down to Capture, and this is the screen you're going to see. So what happens is that you're going to make sure that this says VTR OK, which means that it's going to work. And you're going to click Capture Now. And this black screen is going to come up. Let it run, and it's just going to automatically play. As you can see, this is what I have on the tape I have in the DV deck right now. So what happens is that you're going to just let this run. Just sit back and just let it go. For if you have 30 minutes of footage, it's going to take you 30 minutes to copy all your footage. So just keep that in mind when you decide to come into the lab, and just make sure you allot yourself at least that much time. So when you're done copying all your footage, you're going to press Escape on the keyboard, and that's going to stop it. And as you can see, now the clip is on here and up here in the list as untitled. I would recommend giving it a name. So we're going to just name it Interview. And hopefully in this one clip, you're going to have both your interview and your B-roll.
Okay, the next step is to start editing the interview portion of your package. So we have some new footage here just for the sake of showing you guys. We have two clips, one called interview and one called B-roll. Yours will all be in one clip because you captured it all at the same time. So we're going to right click, new sequence, and we're going to name it, we'll call it Italian Professor, because that's what the story was about. So this is going to be our final sequence, and it's down, as you can see, it's going to show up down here. So we're going to double click on the footage that we just captured. Here it's all right here. This is the whole interview portion. So you're going to watch this whole thing, pick out clips that you like. Say you liked this clip right here. Put this right here. You're going to click this part, which is where your clip will start. Spacebar will play everything on Final Cut, so press spacebar. And let it run for however long you want the clip to be. And then spacebar will pause it. And then that is the out clip. So in between these 2 points is the footage that is going to be dragged down into your final sequence. So just click anywhere in the image, drag it all down, and then down here is the clip that you just marked in and out. So we'll do that one more time just for the sake of showing you. And now we have 2 clips of our interview. Now a few more things that I just want to show you. When this is selected over here, when it's selected, it will snap your footage to the next one, so when I drag it over, it'll automatically go right towards it. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to leave a little space in between, unselect this, and it'll move freely. But generally, it's better to have that selected. So now say that you see something in your interview that you don't like, that you didn't like, that you dragged down. There's an option to cut out stuff that you don't like. So if you go over here on the side, select this button, which is our cutting tool. And if you click, it'll get rid of it. It'll just make a nice clean cut right there. Go back and select your arrow, select this part you don't like, and just press delete. And I'm going to drag down one more clip just for the sake of showing you. And we'll pretend that this is all in order and all the interview that you want to have in your package.
So now that you've edited down your interview, if you haven't done so yet, it's now time to record your voiceovers. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up your camera the same way that you set up your interview, and you're going to mic yourself. So you're going to put the tape in, and before you start talking, when you press the record button, it's a good idea to wait 5 seconds before you start to talk. And in general, in between voiceover clips, it's just a good idea to wait 5 seconds. So that means you're ensuring that when you put it onto Final Cut, it's not going to cut off anything you said, and it just gives you plenty of room to cut your clips and split them. So then you're going to start reading, and when you're done, just make sure that you remember at the end of your last clip you say, for PSN News, I'm, and then your name. So then when you're done, you're going to capture it the same way as you did before. It's a good idea to name your clip. You can just name it voiceover. And then you're going to split up your clips, and you're going to place them in the empty spots that are appropriate next to your clips or in front of your clips. And once you're done that, you're ready to move on to your B-roll.
Okay, at this point, you've edited your interview, you've brought down all your voiceover clips, and now you're going to have to fill in all the blank spaces with some B-roll that you shot. So right up here we have this clip called B-roll. I'm going to double click it. This is all of our footage that we're going to use to put over our blank spaces. Now when you edit your package, you want to make sure that you have pre-roll and pad, which basically is 4 to 5 seconds at the beginning and 4 to 5 seconds at the end of your video of no talking and just video, so that when we're in the studio, we don't accidentally cut to black and it doesn't just cut off. So here we have this blank space, and we're going to fill it with some B-roll, and we're not going to have any audio from the B-roll because all the audio will be from our voiceover or from our interview. So we've already double-clicked. Here's the B-roll that we want to play with, and let's find a good clip. Let's say her face right here. Mark in, play it, or you can press the space bar, and that's good. So when I drag this down, you see there's going to be audio there, and we don't want the audio. So one way to do that is to press this little lock button on all your audio tracks. Green is audio, blue is video, if you haven't figured that out yet. And you're going to drag down your footage here, which happens to fit exactly right. But if it didn't, say that this is all that you dragged down and you want to extend your clip. If this arrow is selected, you can just click right here and drag it all the way over, and that will fill it up. So now we have all this going on here. So then you're going to keep doing that to fill in all these empty spaces. You do not want any black frames in your video at all. We cannot have anything black. So you want to be careful that you make sure that you fill in all the spaces in your package with video. So we're going to do this a few more times. Drag it down. Now this time I'm going to put it on the video track above it, because it's easier if you want to overlap some of your interview. Whatever video is on the topmost track is what's going to be shown. So see here, there's two layers of video. I'm only going to see the top track. So let's say I don't want some of this. Go over here, press the cut button. So I'm going to cut it right there. And delete. And you're going to keep doing this until you find all the nice B-roll that you want. Obviously that's too long, so we're going to cut it down. And for the end, we're going to make sure that we have 5 seconds of pad. So that's more than enough. And now hopefully you should have a full, complete package with no black spots, and everything should be good.
So now that you've finished, we're just going to give you a couple tips, just final things to make sure before you finish. First of all, make sure that there are no jump cuts, and as Christy mentioned, there are no black frames at all. Here's an example of what we mean. This is an example of a jump cut. As you can see, it was a little subtle, but it's really obvious to pretty much everybody in the studio, and even people who are watching at home are going to notice. So basically what you need to make sure is that, you know, everything is very smooth. And if you, let's say there are 2 clips in the interview that they're really relevant to each other, and you just really want to put them together to make one big clip. So if you can see here, let's say that this is 2 clips put together. You don't want to hear the jump cut, so a great thing you can do with B-roll is to take the B-roll and just put it over top of these 2 things. And then when you make sure that your sound sounds good, it just sounds like they're just continuously talking. And with B-roll in general, it's a really good idea with clips that I would say are about 7 seconds or longer, as they're talking, to put interesting B-roll over what they're saying, so that we're not just staring at somebody talking for 10 plus seconds. So another thing you also want to make sure you do is to not to have black frames, and that's what this looks like. Yeah, we don't want that at all. So that's why it's a really good idea to have the snap on, so that when you're putting all your clips together, they're just going to snap together. There's not going to be any black space in between. So in general, you just need to make sure that you watch over your entire package before you decide to export it, and just make sure there are no jump cuts and then there are no black frames. The other thing you need to do is to make sure that all of your sound is balanced. So we're going to unclick all the audio, and we're going to go to this button down here. It kind of looks like a mountain. You're going to click it, and you see these pink lines come up. So basically, let's say that your voiceover is so much louder than your interview. So you're going to go to these lines and adjust as needed. As you can see, the decibels is going to change. So let's say, you need to really make your voiceover lower, and you need to make your interview higher. I know this interview is a little soft. So when you play it, you need to make sure, if you look over here, here's sound. You need to make sure that the sound is about right here, about in the yellow. Make sure it does not go into the red, into these dots, because that's basically going to blow out the sound in the studio, and that's just not going to sound good in general. So just make sure that your audio all sounds generally the same, that it's around here.
The last step of this process is to export your final video. Down here you have your entire package complete with your B-roll, interview, and your voiceover. So before you export it, you're going to want to scroll all the way over and see if there's anything that you may have dragged down that you left. And here we go, we have some random piece of B-roll over here that if you would have exported it, it would just be this much black and then some video, which we don't want. So you're going to highlight it and delete it. And now we just have a nice package right here. So this is called Italian Professor. This is what our package is. So we're going to highlight it up here in your bin, right click, export, QuickTime Movie. It's called Italian Professor. I'm going to export it to the desktop, but if you have a flash drive, just export it to your flash drive. Make sure that you're exporting audio and video, not just audio or just video. So we're going to save it, and you'll see a window come up that will be exporting. And if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to call one of your producers, your director, or your assistant director. We're always here to help.